101, sorry, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And if you are born and raised in Pittsburgh, if you love Pittsburgh, there is one name that I can 100% guarantee you know. And Roberto Clemente Jr. is on Cars, Stars, and everything in between. And I got to tell you, if there is a name that is synonymous with the city of Pittsburgh, it is the name of your father that you also carry.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Man,
Absolutely.
It really is. It really is an honor. Of course, I grew up hearing that name forever and watching, and my grandfather would tell me, this man is going to be the best ball player ever to play in Pittsburgh. And he already was, but the legacy is even greater. I don't know how you could possibly, I mean, we can list everything. It's your dad's tragic death. It is certainly was a loss for not just you, but for an entire nation, actually, not just Pittsburgh, PA. But it's interesting because that parallel is your father was so involved in philanthropic efforts and for the right reasons. And he didn't ask for headlines. He didn't do any of that. And yet where it intersects for us is we try to help the community too on some level. So it's something we understand, but to use the celebrity of his fame on the baseball diamond and to be able to cross over and create such good things, man, it must be just make you really proud to be Junior and to know that what your dad stood for.
No, obviously it is a name that for me, growing up at a young age, it was pretty tough because number one, people don't realize, they don't think about a 7-year-old kid that just lost his father. That also every time that I walked out the door, I was fielding questions and comments and even consoling people because of the reaction, emotional reaction of the people crying, and to this day still happens. But it is amazing that when you start realizing that he lived a life 38 years, and 50 years later we're still talking about what he was able to accomplish in 38 years. The impact that he left us, the legacy he left, for me is really an understanding that he needed to die the way he lived. So by doing so, I really created that legacy that we're still talking about today.
As a 7-year-old, losing your father, I just can't even possibly wrap my brain around that. But then losing a father with the type of standing that your father had and the recognition that your father had, was there any point, what was a point at your earliest remembrance where you fully understood the scope of your father's impact, not only in Pittsburgh, but on the world and the world of professional baseball?
Wow. I'm still learning, believe it or not. I'm still learning because every single day there are more stories and connections throughout the world that he actually had some impact to this area. But I think I must have been, I was in my teens. There was no doubt I was in my teens. I traveled a lot. I actually went and spoke on behalf of the family at a very young age, but I did not know how far overreach we were talking about. And then I started learning about, in Africa, in Liberia to be exact, where they actually had his face on a currency, on a coin, on two coins, on a dollar and a $10 coin, $2 coin, two different currencies in Africa. Honoring him because of who he was and so forth. And, Mannheim, Germany, 2 months after the accident, they named a stadium in Mannheim, Germany after him. It was still standing today there in Germany. So it's a global brand in Japan, Taiwan. I mean, you go down the whole list that I continue to learn. It's big. It is global, and it's truly a global name for sure.
If I were a therapist, I would look at this whole scenario and I would say to you, you've never really had a chance to grieve. At 7 years old, you didn't grieve. You
Correct.
were you were part of the celebrity, part of the rest of the world's grief. But as a 7 year old, I think you were, and forgive me, but you might have been robbed of your own grief.
Richard, you're exactly right. That's funny you mentioned that because I have been really gearing up to writing my book because I must share my life story because from that point on, it's been an unbelievable journey. Good, bad, ugly, outstanding stories. But I never was able to grieve, and you're absolutely right. And that's why I talked to my wife. I was able to go to speak at an event in Indiana a couple of years ago, and it was a grieving house for kids. And as I walked in, it hit me. I became a 7 year old that had just lost his dad and walked into this place where I knew that I was going to be better and understanding that kids that were my age were going through the same thing. I never had that. I never had that type of moments and opportunity to really talk about it, to grieve, and I never did. So I went into a journey that I'm gonna write about it because it's by the grace of God I'm alive today, and I can tell you that um, a lot of the a lot of people and kids out there that are grieving, they need to have the opportunity to do so. It's very important to really have that capacity to be able to become whole. It really affects the human psyche when you have a loss of that magnitude and not be able to talk about it, be able to have channels to have that outlet.
It's interesting you talk about that, Roberto. I don't really talk about my personal life much, and as I've just asked you to do. But addiction, I don't know if this touches your life at all, but when you say the need for children to have an outlet like that, um, in my own family, we have been dealing with that, and it starts with all of those compressed feelings and the anxieties and the insecurities and I have to tell you, what it's done to me is shine the spotlight on the issues you speak of. And man, if you could do anything at all, I think really what you can do is just the awareness because people don't get it.
Listen, Richard, and the reason why I decided to open up about my own life, it's because I understand that by doing so, a lot of people are going to understand that they're not alone. It touches anyone and everyone. We're all human beings.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter who you are. I've gone through so many things. I mean, the list is long. And I can tell you right now that it's once everything comes out, you have the tragedy that's PTSD. 3 months later, I became victim of sexual abuse for years. And you can go down the whole list of things that I'm going to be able to connect with a whole group of people out there that have gone through the same things. And I'll be able to touch those to understand that they're not alone and you can get through those things and be able to be okay and be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Wow.
Because I went through a lot and here I am. And I feel very blessed of who I am today and what I'm doing.
By the way, our guest today is Roberto Clemente Jr. We will be back. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. Stand by.
Wow. Got to say, I didn't expect this kind of level of conversation. Thank you.
It's we're human. We need to have conversations, right?
Yes. Very, very cool. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I got to say this real quick. Stand by. This will be part 2. And here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and our guest today is Roberto Clemente Jr. And we were just talking in between interview segments that we didn't expect to go down this road because you've been through so much, and you've also used that as a way to do so much. I mean, I don't know that the average person even knows about you after your baseball career. By the way, I give you all the credit in the world. I don't know how your name is Roberto Clemente Jr. You even try to play baseball, because how could you ever live up to that? But you did, and you did amazingly. But then you come back to Pittsburgh with the RBI program, and I don't think people even know about that.
Well, a lot of people don't know a lot about me because obviously they get to know Roberto Clemente Jr. and immediately it's about, dad and the connection with dad. And, it's a natural thing. So I've been used to that. And in my own right, I'm in many ways like dad. I don't like a lot of publicity and the things that I do. But in 1993, but in 92, I went to Anaheim, California for the RBI World Series.
Which, by the way, stands for the Reviving Baseball in the Inner City.
In the Inner City is correct. And,
and the only reason I know about that is I'm involved with the Pittsburgh Hardball Academy. I'm one of the coaches, and we've worked with RBI in the past.
Well, in RBI, ironically, I started RBI here in Pittsburgh in 93. That's why I started the foundation back then, just to be able to run the RBI, because I learned that Pittsburgh did not have an RBI program when I was in Anaheim, and all these cities had the program, and Puerto Rico had the program. I was there with a team from Puerto Rico, and when I learned about Pittsburgh, I said the kids from Pittsburgh need the RBI program, and that's when I decided to at least start plant the seed here in Pittsburgh, and God has been good to those kids and be able to grow the program.
And by the way, I just want to say that if people want to check out your website, it's RobertoClementeFoundation.com. It's RobertoClementeFoundation.com is the website.
I mean, when you were 7 years old, you didn't even realize who your father was at that point. Right?
No, not at all. I mean, for me, it was dad. It was just dad, and I remember after the 71 World Series, there were hundreds of thousands of people at the airport. And I'm going like, what's going on? What's the big deal? What's the big deal? And all I want to do was see dad. But yes, at 7 years old, you don't realize I was actually imitating, the Manny Sangui and Willie Stargell and Richie Hebner.
That's great. That's so great. Does the name Phil Dorsey mean anything?
Absolutely. Phil was Dad's guy, man. He did everything for Dad. He was his brother, and he did everything for us.
So Phil Dorsey, his wife Carol,
yes,
lived across the street from my grandparents.
Wow.
East Liberty, 5485 Broad Street.
East Liberty, yes.
Yep. And he and Phil were just like, my grandfather was just a normal guy. He was a letter carrier. He worked for the U.S. Post Office. But he and Phil, and he had a crush on Carol. So
she's a good-looking woman. I remember Carol. Yes, absolutely.
But it's so funny because he used to tell stories, and I think, oh, come on, Roberto wasn't there. You didn't meet Roberto.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
But that's so funny. Yeah, I wasn't sure even when I asked the question, I wasn't sure of what the answer was going to be, because he did have an ability to tell tales.
I know. Listen, he spoke. He was like the Muhammad Ali of tales, right? He was the Muhammad Ali. He had he was a character, but he was like an uncle for me. I remember he would do everything. Dad needed anything, he was there. So yeah, so Phil
Was
was a
he
big part of for Dad's life and our
was
life.
he a manager? Was he your dad's manager?
Yeah, he became like his manager. Yes, Dad negotiated his own contracts and stuff, but he everything else, personal and everything that he needed, appearances or whatsoever, he was able to make in the calendar.
Your dad played for the Pirates from 1955 to 1972. When you lived in Pittsburgh, what area did you live in? What community did you guys call home while he was a Pirate?
Well, when he was a Pirate, when he was still at Forbes Field, we lived in East Liberty. We lived at Penley Park Apartments.
Okay.
In East Liberty, and then when they moved to Three River Stadium, we ended up in Green Tree. We ended up right behind that Eaton Park on Banksville Road. Up there, the apartments are still there. A lot of the Pirates stay there. It was actually the Chatham West apartments. The Al Oliver, Manny, all those guys lived there for a while when they moved to there.
I find that incredibly fascinating because I don't think anybody ever asked that questions. These, like, your dad's one of the biggest names in the history of the city of Pittsburgh. He's like, yeah, we lived in an apartment behind the Eaton Park.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, you know what I just noticed? I'll keep it light. Because there's so many things I would love to talk to you about. But I'll keep it light. You talk about Manny Sanguine, you talk about Al Oliver, you talk about Willie Stargell, Roberto, your dad. These are legacy names.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't we create that again? We don't have any of those people playing baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know who the owner was back then. You can't criticize ownership now, but you can certainly comment on it. And I just don't know. We don't have that anymore. And
Andrew McCutchen would be the closest, in my opinion.
And he's one and done. That's it. There's nobody else. And the only thing that concerns me is when I hear, well, Pittsburgh's a small market. Pittsburgh was the same market back then.
Correct.
What made the difference? Talent. Talent made the difference. And so, and I always wonder about that. And what I didn't know was that you actually played professional ball.
Yes.
And Bubba was just talking about that. But were you good?
Well, I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for the fact that I was trying to kill myself every day of my life since I was 11 years old.
Wait. What?
What I'm talking about, alcohol abuse. I drank every day of my life.
At 11?
Starting at 11 years old. And I played. That's the way I played. I didn't sleep. I suffered from sleep apnea. I actually suffered from head injuries, 15 concussions before high school. You go down the whole list. I mean, the list is very long. I don't think you have enough time to go through the whole thing that I've been through. So for me to, had gone to play professional baseball and looking back, I obviously was not in any way capable of doing anything at 100% where I was throughout my life. So that also helped get injured, my injuries, my knee, my back later on. But there's no doubt that I had the ability. Growing up, I was, batting champion in every league going up, battling with Ruben Sierra in Puerto Rico for batting titles. He never beat me. So I was ready. I was a natural, not only in terms of hitting, but defense. Everything came natural. It was very evident. The mind was not there. My father was not there. To be able to really to be able to guide and answer the questions that I had. I had my mother, but obviously that was a different story.
Wow. So I have to ask because two things were, first of all, simple thing. Did you play right field?
I play. Yes, I was an outfielder. I had the arm. I had a good arm. I played all different positions growing up, but they wanted me in right field because of the arm.
Second, you touched on a victim of sexual abuse since you were 11.
I was 7. I started when I was 7. It was 3 months right after the accident, so it was immediate.
Has it been dealt with that person?
Unfortunately, the person passed. So no, the answer is no.
So it's unresolved.
Yeah, right. So I think that for me being able to open up and I started speaking about it, and the more I speak about it, it's more of a therapeutic. And then when I write about it, and being able to really come out and spell it out has been very good.
It's
Um,
been cathartic almost. Robert.
Yes. So in understanding, then when I do say it, and the people that have been affected by it, they open up and they thank me because they never had the guts, the nerve to be able to speak out about it. So by me just laying it out there, I think I'm really laying out a ramp for a lot of people to be able to have that conversation,
You really are.
and not be able to feel ashamed or bad about it. Something that you are a survivor, not a victim, but a survivor
Yeah.
of those episodes.
Roberto,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining
No,
us.
he can't go yet. No.
You
He
know,
can't.
we have to have you back, Roberto. You know, we talk about it all the time. We have some great interviews, but we literally could do another entire show with you.
I would love to. And also, I'd like to invite you to come to my office, have a cup of coffee, and just
Absolutely,
just talk.
absolutely.
You know, you're a lot of your things parallel some of the things in my life and my family, and it's very interesting, and it is cathartic. So I understand that. But the things that I mean, because also it all comes under the umbrella of PTSD, right?
Correct. Yes.
Because that's
Yes.
the umbrella.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'd really like to explore that, not on a prying basis, but again, on a cathartic level. But we didn't talk about what drives the interest in you more than anything is everything you're involved in.
Well,
And
and Richard, by the way, we can have a whole show on that because the amount of head injuries that I received, of the trauma, the PTSD, I grew up impaired without even knowing it. So 10 years ago, I was treated at a brain clinic in Dallas, Texas, and it changed my life. But from that point on, I have been involved in brain technology and being able to understand the brain better. And we have come a long way and very exciting stuff that I'm involved in technology, and it's something that I'm very proud of. So there's a lot, there's a lot of light that comes out of it, right? So I'm very proud of that.
Well, we will definitely have you on again. RobertoClementeFoundation.com. We've got to rebook this ASAP, Richard.
yes,
And yeah, absolutely. Any information on me, RobertoClementeJr.com as well. So absolutely welcome. I'm looking forward to having more of a conversation.
This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
thank you so much.